LGBT issues should not be allowed to be discussed in schools. And by in schools, we mean 0 to 18 years old. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, move.
I may have mistaken it.
Okay, think about it. Think about it.
Not.
Should not. Okay. So LGBT issues should not be allowed to be discussed in schools. So you disagree, that means you think they should be allowed to be discussed. Yeah. Okay. So tell us why you stand on the strongly disagree.
In my opinion, I don't think that just because somebody doesn't fit in the general, I don't even think it should be on that board. LGBTQ people are the same as us. So I strongly disagree. Kids should get if they got the education about the LGBTQ topics, they wouldn't be so. Sorry.
That's okay.
So they wouldn't be.
You can say the word in Hungarian.
They would accept it. It wouldn't be weird.
Okay.
So if they had started educate them on these issues, on these topics, they would accept them the same way as we accept, men, women.
People with red hair.
Yeah, exactly. Anybody.
Okay. You two are on the strongly disagree line. Tell them, in particular those folks, why you're on the strongly disagree line. Why do you think LGBT issues should not be allowed to be discussed in schools?
Well, there's
There's
the concept of underage people, and if you're under 18, you cannot vote, you cannot buy alcohol, in the USA you cannot buy weapons, for example. Here in Hungary you can't buy them anyway, it's really hard, okay? And so if you cannot vote, you cannot buy alcohol, you cannot decide anything for yourself, then why should you be able to choose what sexuality you're on? Or
it should be allowed to be discussed, not to...
should not.
Yeah, no. Should not be allowed, so it's discussed.
Oh,
Discuss,
yeah,
talk
yeah,
about
yeah,
it.
that's what I'm saying. They shouldn't discuss it. So when people are over 18, they can discuss it, they can choose anything they want. They can do anything they want. But I don't think it's a topic for underage people.
Okay. Tell us why you stand on the strongly disagree line.
Well, there is two viewpoints. One, if the education is value neutral, then so we focus on facts, on scientific facts, and just what fit, not in a community, but in the class. So I on the side that education should be more value neutral, but if we say that it's such an important thing that we should discuss and we should bring that question into schools, okay, I can agree with that. But in this case, fascist, racist, and any other ideologies and thoughts should be discussed in school too.
Okay. So you're on the disagree line. Tell them in particular why you disagree.
Well, first of all, you raised a pretty good point because if everything's allowed, and for example, this is allowed, they should be able to speak about any other thing. However, I believe we are approaching this question from a different point of view, and that's okay. We don't necessarily have to agree about everything.
What's your point of view and what's theirs?
Well, his point of view is that if, for example, LGBT topics are allowed to be discussed in school, every other topic regarding fascism, things that people might not want to hear about should be discussed as well. But I believe this LGBT topic is very stigmatized. Like, it's not that very much of a bad thing. It's kind of neutral. It's that not even about accepting, but everybody should know that there are people like them among us, even though if they are not the majority. Like, for example, there are fascists, there are some people who are really nationalistic. For example, why is this worse to allowing things to be discussed like LGBT topics in school? Why is it worse than, for example, just twisting history and talking about very nationalistic ideas? Those are more harmful, I believe, because that's also as propagandistic as this. That's why I'm not on the strongly disagree line. But
Why?
because I believe we should leave some leeway, some room for discussion. And if I said strongly disagree, I would just be as much of a biased and bigot person than if I stand on, for example, strongly agree. I think there should be room left for discussion.
Do you agree with what he said?
Not necessarily. I think we shouldn't mix, in my opinion, fascists and these radical, historic people or movements, historical movements, with such things as who feels themselves women or men. One is from yourself, and it has an impact on your personal life, while, as you mentioned, the fascists were like a huge impact on the whole nation. I mean, as we discussed, on biology classes, how male-female genitals are working or how reproduction is working, we should just educate people that this is, this happens with some people, somebody like this, somebody like that.
Okay. All right. Tell us why you're on the agree line.
Because
Tell them in particular.
okay, because I think they are in a very young age, at, for example, 8 or 10, and I think they should discuss these LGBT issues in school, but in an older age.
What age?
For example, 16, 20, 22.
So how come you're not on the strongly agree line?
Because I think it's a good topic in school, but not in a young age.
Okay. So has anybody said anything at all today that would cause you to move one line to the left or one line to the right?
So everybody said something which I could agree, but I couldn't say that I can make a choice of which side would I choose or to move.
What would you have to hear them say to convince you to move one line over? And what would you have to hear them say to convince you to move one line over? What would they have to say?
So what they said, that it should be allowed to discuss any other topics, and I do agree with that. And for the other side, they should maybe that it should be like educated to gain general knowledge of this kind of people.
Okay. Do you think you could give him a reason to move, not all the way over, just one single line over? Is there anything you could say to him to persuade him to move one line over? And guess who's getting that question next, so you can prepare.
One line.
That's it. You just one line over to the slightly agree. Tell him directly.
Isn't that the parliament has the job to discuss such a questions? Isn't then so discuss such problems or debates in amongst the society, amongst parties, amongst peoples? Isn't that the parliament who has that job?
Okay. Is there anything that you could say to him that you think might convince him to move one line over? Just one.
Well, yeah, I do think it should be discussed. I just think it shouldn't be discussed with people under 18 years of age. So I do think it should be discussed, but not in high schools or elementary schools.
Okay. You're going to see, what can you say to him to make him move one line over?
Sure. So, for example, let's just say a hypothetical scenario. you have you have a children of your own, you have a child of your own, and the child might feel insecure talking about such things with you, not because you are a bad parent or anything like that, but children, especially teenagers, they are think that talking about such things are awkward. I'm speaking of experience right now. I would have appreciated some kind of, I don't know, talk. Not just even a presentation, but just discussing that there are people like that. Even though I might not be an LGBT member, it would have been good to know about it. So I don't have to go on the internet, view some malicious sites. So I believe, for example, your children would probably your children would appreciate that as well. So your child don't have to look up on the internet at malicious sites and learn something which is not correct or anything like that. Yeah.
So, is there anything you can say to him you think a reasonable person would want to move one line over?
Well, basically, he told everything or mainly the same things I would have said, because I think one of the main reasons it should be taught in schools is that children, first of all, children would get the education they need to be less judgy, to accept more, not necessarily only on this topic, but every other topic which nowadays is a public topic in Hungary. But also, on the other hand, why I don't agree with them, and I think he should move here, I don't think it should be age-approved. Obviously, we are not talking about showing them hardcore LGBTQ pictures or whatever, but just to give them the basics, and they won't feel gays, they won't feel different, and after they turn 18 or over. They can feel, different in nurseries, in elementary schools.
Okay.
And it's even harder because they don't have any knowledge on this topic.
Okay, so I skipped you because they were on the stronger line. Do you have anything to add?
Not really. I totally agree with this. That this is a very good topic, but not in underage.
Because why?
Because they are too young. For example, when they are 10 years old, they are too young for this topic, I think.
What if they're 14?
It's a good question. I think 16 or more is a good topic to talk with children with this.
What age did you decide you were straight?
I don't know. 16. It's I don't know.
Was it a decision?
No, it wasn't this decision.
Okay. Has anybody said anything here that would cause you to move to just one line to the right or the left?
There were some ideas or some thoughts that I can agree with, and there are some with which I cannot. But
Enough to move, though.
no, there is not one.
Okay. I have a few finishing questions, and we'll wrap up. Anybody have kids here? No. Let's say that you had a kid, and your kid was gay. So imagine that. You have a kid, your kid's gay. Would you move lines?
I maybe would move to slightly disagree.
Would you move lines?
Not. I'm surely not.
Tell us why.
Cause I don't have to agree with my child. I can love my child. I can respect my child, but I can, besides that, my own opinion.
Okay. Would it matter if your kid were gay?
No. The same thing, I would love him and I would respect him and his feelings, absolutely, but education is not just about my child, it's about everyone's child. And I still think the same, it shouldn't be discussed with underage people.
If your child were gay, would you change your mind?
Maybe I go further one line because I think I can talk with them about this topic.
Would you change your mind?
No, not really. But they also raise a good point. we don't necessarily have to agree, and I wouldn't change my opinion because I had a child. I'm already on the same. I'm already disagreeing. So yeah, I wouldn't change my own opinion because I had a child.
I wouldn't change sides, obviously.
All right, thank you, everybody. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.